I stood in the kitchen of our Seattle apartment, the soft hum of the fridge filling the quiet Tuesday night. The diamond on my finger caught the overhead light, sparkling like a tiny star. 3 carats, emerald cut, set in a sleek white gold band. I tilted my hand, watching the light dance. 18 months ago, I'd paused in front of a jewelry store window downtown, pointing at that very ring. Rachel had smiled, her eyes warm, promising without words. Now, here we were. Rachel stood at the counter, her knife slicing through carats with precision. Each piece fell like a little orange gem. She glanced up, catching my stare. "What's that smile for, Anna?" Her voice was teasing, but soft, the kind that always made my chest feel light. I leaned against the counter, the cool granite grounding me. Just thinking, in 6 months, I'll be Mrs. Miller. The words felt strange, thrilling. Anna Miller. After 29 years as Anna Brooks, I was ready to become someone new. Doesn't that sound perfect? She set the knife down, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her dark hair fell over one shoulder as she crossed the kitchen, wrapping her arms around my waist from behind. The faint scent of her perfume, something expensive, a Christmas gift from you, wished over me. She pressed a kiss to my neck, her breath warm. 6 months is too long, she murmured. I'd marry you tomorrow if I could. I laughed, leaning into her warmth. Your mom would have a fit if we eloped. Oh, yes. Linda Miller had her heart set on the grandest wedding Seattle had seen in years. The Grandview Hotel, booked 11 months ago, was her dream venue. Rachel chuckled, low and quiet, then stepped back to the cutting board. Speaking of which, did you confirm the florist appointment? Her knife resumed its rhythm, now tackling a red bell pepper. Thursday at 2, I said, pulling my tablet from the counter. I opened our wedding spreadsheet, color-coded and pristine. And the cake tastings next Tuesday. My finger scrolled through the tabs. Oh, Emily asked if we finalized the guest count for the invites. Rachel's knife paused, just for a second. A flicker crossed her face, tightness around her eyes, a slight clench in her jaw. It was so quick I almost missed it. Let's keep it under 200, she said, her tone clipped, eyes fixed on the pepper. 200? I laughed, tilting my head. Rachel, your mom's list is practically that already. Add my family, my friends would need to cut it way down. I watched her, waiting for her usual playful comeback. She didn't look up. Work's been a lot, she said, her voice sharper than the blade in her hand. The Peterson merger's a mess. I just want to keep things simple. I set the tablet down, studying her. The air felt heavier now. You okay? You seem stressed. It's nothing. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just the merger. Long hours. Before I could press, her phone buzzed on the counter. She wiped her hands, glanced at the screen, and her posture shifted, shoulders stiff, lips tight. I gotta take this. It's Sarah about the merger. I nodded, used to these interruptions. As a junior partner at her law firm, Rachel was always on call. But something about the way she moved quick, almost guarded, made my stomach twist. She headed toward our bedroom, her steps too fast. The door clicked shut behind her. I stood there, alone in the kitchen. Half-chopped vegetables lay scattered on the counter, the knife glinting under the light. My ring felt heavier now, the diamonds sparkled dulled. I told myself it was nothing. Just work stress. Rachel loved me. We were getting married in 6 months. Everything was fine. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, was it? The kitchen felt too quiet after Rachel closed the bedroom door. The soft chop of her knife had stopped, leaving only the faint hum of the fridge and the distant rumble of Seattle traffic outside. I stared at the half-sliced red pepper on the counter, its bright edges uneven, abandoned. My fingers grazed the tablet, still open to our wedding spreadsheet. Rows of names, dates, and vendors, all neatly organized. Everything in its place. Except me, maybe. I shook my head. I was being ridiculous. Rachel was just stressed about work. The Peterson merger had been eating up her days and nights for weeks. Late calls with Sarah, her colleague, weren't new. She'd come back, crack a joke, and we'd finish dinner like always. Still, my feet moved toward the bedroom door, slow and silent on the hardwood floor. I told myself I just needed to know if I should keep cooking or order takeout from that Thai place we liked on Pine Street. But that was a lie. The truth was simpler, sharper. Something wasn't right. I pressed my ear against the door, though it would cool against my skin. Rachel's voice came through, low but clear, like she was standing right beside me. "We can't talk about this now," she said. A pause. "She's right outside." My breath caught, sharp and sudden. Who was she? Me? My heart thudded, loud enough I worried she'd hear it. "No, she suspects nothing," Rachel continued. "Just stick to the plan." The plan? What plan? My mind raced, flipping through possibilities. The wedding was set for June 15th at the Grandview Hotel. We'd booked the ballroom nearly a year ago, picked the menu, even argued over whether to have peonies or roses. Everything was planned, wasn't it? I backed away from the door, my hands trembling. The kitchen light felt too bright now, exposing every doubt I'd tried to ignore. Rachel's tense jaw earlier, her clipped tone about the guest list, it wasn't just work stress, was it? I grabbed the tablet, pretending to scroll through the spreadsheet, but my eyes couldn't focus. The bedroom door creaked open, and I froze. "Sorry about that," Rachel said, her voice casual again, like nothing had happened. She slid her phone into her pocket and picked up the knife. "Sarah's freaking out about the merger presentation tomorrow." Her smile was easy, practiced, but it didn't reach her eyes. I nodded, my throat tight. "Everything okay?" My voice sounded small, not like me at all. "Yeah, just work nonsense." She resumed chopping, the knife's rhythm steady now. "You know how it is." She glanced at me, her head tilted. "You good?" "You look I don't know off." "Just tired," I lied, forcing a smile. "Long day." I turned to the fridge, pulling out a jar of olives to keep my hands busy. My mind was screaming, but I couldn't let her see. Not yet. I needed to think, to figure out what I'd just heard. "She suspects nothing. Just stick to the plan." Those words looped in my head, sharp as the blade in Rachel's hand. We finished dinner in near silence, the kind that feels loud with unspoken things. Rachel talked about the merger, some boring detail about contracts, but I barely listened. I nodded at the right moments, laughed when she did, played the part of the happy fiancé. But inside, I was unraveling. Later, as we cleared the dishes, I caught her watching me. "You sure you're okay, Anna?" she asked, her tone softer now, almost concerned. I met her eyes, searching for a crack in her facade. Nothing. Just that warm, familiar gaze I'd fallen for 3 years ago. "I'm fine," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Just excited for June." She smiled, pulling me into a quick hug. "Me too." But as her arms wrapped around me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was hugging a stranger. The bedroom was dark, save for the faint glow of my phone screen. Rachel's steady breathing filled the space beside me, her body curled under the covers. It was 2:17 a.m., and I hadn't slept. Couldn't. My mind kept replaying her words from behind that closed door. "She suspects nothing. Just stick to the plan." Each syllable felt like a splinter under my skin. I stared at the ceiling, tracing the shadows cast by the streetlights outside our Seattle apartment. The diamond ring on my finger felt heavy, cold. I twisted it, tempted to slip it off, but didn't. Not yet. Rachel loved me. She'd proposed, planned a life with me. There had to be an explanation. A surprise, maybe. A work thing. Something. But that voice, the one that had whispered doubts in the kitchen, grew louder in the dark. I reached for my phone, careful not to shift the mattress. Rachel didn't stir. I opened her messages, telling myself I was just checking for wedding updates. Sarah's texts were there, all about the Peterson merger, deadlines, and golf plans for next weekend. Boring, normal. I almost put the phone down. Then I saw it. A message from Nicole Evans, Rachel's childhood friend, the one with the easy laugh and too long hugs at parties. The one who always made me feel like an outsider, no matter how hard I tried to fit into their shared history. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the text. Opening it would mark it as read. Rachel would know I'd been snooping. The message was short, sent yesterday, confirming everything's set for the 15th. She'll never find out. My pulse hammered in my ears. The 15th. Our wedding day. At the Grandview Hotel, where we'd spent hours picking table settings and lighting. What wouldn't I find out? I set the phone down, my hands shaking. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I told myself to stop. To wake Rachel, demand answers. But what if she lied? What if she laughed it off, made me feel paranoid? I'd look like the crazy one. No. I needed proof. Something solid. I slid out of bed, barefoot, and tiptoed to the living room. My laptop sat on the coffee table, next to a stack of wedding magazines we'd paged through last week. I logged into our shared email, the one we'd set up for wedding planning. Vendor confirmations, menu drafts, seating charts. Everything was there, just as I'd left it. I scrolled through, my heart sinking with every normal, expected message. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe. Then I found it. An email from the Grandview's event coordinator, sent 3 weeks ago. Dear Ms. Miller, thank you for updating the guest list for the June 15th celebration. We've noted the changes and will adjust seating accordingly. Please confirm the final headcount by May 1st. I clicked the attachment. A spreadsheet loaded, names in alphabetical order. 212 guests. I scanned the list. Rachel's family, her coworkers, her college friends. Nicole was there, of course. Sarah, too. I kept scrolling, looking for my name. Anna Brooks. It wasn't there. I checked again, slower. My parents weren't listed either. No Emily. No one from my side. My own wedding, and I wasn't invited. My throat tightened. I closed the laptop, the soft click loud in the silent apartment. Rachel's voice echoed in my head. She suspects nothing. Was this the plan? To string me along, let me plan a wedding that wasn't mine? I stood, pacing the living room, the hardwood cold under my feet. The framed photo of us on the mantel smiling at Pike Place Market last summer felt like a lie. I wasn't going back to bed. Not next to her. Not tonight. I grabbed my keys and slipped out, the apartment door locking softly behind me. The cool Seattle air hit my face as I stepped into the night. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew I wasn't the same Anna who'd stood in the kitchen hours ago, dreaming of forever. The Seattle morning was gray, the kind of damp chill that seeped into your bones. I sat in my car in the office parking lot, the engine off, my laptop open on the passenger seat. The email from the Grandview Hotel stared back at me, its spreadsheet attachment a quiet betrayal. 212 guests for the June 15th celebration. Not one of them was me. Not Anna Brooks. Not my parents. Not Emily. No one I loved. I'd barely slept, crashing on Emily's couch after leaving the apartment last night. Her chipped coffee mug sat in the cup holder now, the dregs of her paint-stripping brew cold and bitter. My phone buzzed, another text from Rachel. Feeling better? Need me to grab soup? Her words were so normal, so caring. I wanted to scream. Instead, I typed back, just a headache. I'm fine. My fingers shook as I hit send. The spreadsheet was still open. I scrolled through it again, slower, as if my name might magically appear. It didn't. Rachel's family was their Linda Miller's sprawling list of cousins and aunts. Her law firm colleagues. Her old sorority sisters. Nicole Evans, of course, with a +1. But my side? Erased. Like I didn't exist. Like our 3 years together were a footnote. I closed the laptop and leaned back, the car seat creaking. The parking lot was empty, just a few early birds trickling into the office building across the street. Normal people with normal lives. People whose fiancés weren't planning what, exactly? A fake wedding? A lie? I didn't know yet, but I was going to find out. I called Emily. She picked up on the second ring, her voice bright despite the hour. Hey, you're up early. Shouldn't you be on the couch watching bad reality TV? I need a favor, I said, my voice calmer than I felt. Can you call the Grandview Hotel? Ask about the event on June 15th. Say you're confirming details for Miller's celebration. A pause. Anna, what's going on? Emily's tone shifted, sharp with worry. Just do it, I said. Please. Don't use my name. Ask what the event is. Okay, she said slowly. Give me 20 minutes. I waited, staring at the dashboard. The diamond ring was gone. I'd sold it yesterday at a small jewelry shop on Capitol Hill. The appraiser had called it a beautiful piece, asked why I was letting it go. It doesn't fit anymore, I'd said. He'd offered a decent price, and I'd walked out with a check and a strange lightness. One less lie weighing me down. My phone rang. Emily. I answered, my heart in my throat. So I called, she said, straight to the point. The woman at the Grandview was chatty. Anna, it's not a wedding. The car felt too small. I rolled down the window, the damp air rushing in. What is it? A company party, she said. For the Peterson merger. Booked 8 months ago. 8 months. Rachel and I had gotten engaged 9 months ago. We'd toured venues together, laughed over champagne at the Grandview's tasting room. Had it all been a lie? You're sure? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I asked if there were other events for Rachel Miller this year, Emily said. Nothing. No wedding. Just the party. The world tilted. My hands gripped the steering wheel. She never planned to marry me. Maybe there's an explanation, Emily said, but her voice was heavy with doubt. A surprise. A surprise party I'm not invited to? My laugh was hollow, echoing in the car. With none of my family or friends? Come over, she said. You shouldn't be alone. I need to think, I said, hanging up. I sat there, watching the drizzle streak the windshield. Rachel's text glowed on my phone. Relax. Love you. Love. The word felt like a blade. I started the car, the engine's hum steadying me. If there was a truth to find, I'd dig it up. No matter how much it hurt. I sat on Emily's couch, the Seattle rain tapping against her living room window. The folder in my lap felt heavier than it should, stuffed with papers Emily had pulled together after her call to the Grandview Hotel. My hands hadn't stopped shaking since I'd left the office parking lot. The truth was sinking in, cold and sharp. Rachel's celebration on June 15th wasn't our wedding. It was a company party. And I wasn't on the guest list. Emily paced the room, her phone pressed to her ear. Laura, just tell me what you know, she said, her voice firm but low. Laura Hayes, our mutual friend, used to work at Rachel's law firm. If anyone knew the office gossip, it was her. I stared at the coffee table, littered with takeout containers from last night. My life was unraveling, and I was surrounded by leftover pad thai. Thanks, Laura. I owe you. Emily hung up, her face tight with something I couldn't read. Pity, maybe? Anger. She sat beside me, her hand resting on my knee. You're not gonna like this, Anna. Just say it, I said, my voice flat. I was done with half-truths. She took a deep breath. Laura says Rachel's been seeing someone at the firm. Jessica Lee, from accounting. For about 4 months. For months. My stomach twisted, the room tilting slightly. For months ago, Rachel and I were picking out wedding invitations, laughing over fonts at a cafe on Pike Street. For months ago, she'd kissed me goodnight, promised me forever. Seeing her how? I asked, though I already knew. Together, Emily said softly. Like, dating. Everyone at the office knows. Laura says there's a rumor Rachel's planning to propose to Jessica at the merger party. The words hit like a slap. Propose. At the party I wasn't invited to, the party I'd thought was our wedding. I laughed, sharp and bitter, the sound startling even me. So she's been planning our wedding with me and her engagement to someone else at the same time? Emily nodded, her eyes dark with sympathy. Laura heard it from a paralegal who overheard Rachel and Jessica talking in the break room. They thought no one was listening. I stood, pacing to the window. The rain blurred the Seattle skyline, lights smearing into streaks. Humiliation burned hotter than the betrayal. Strangers at Rachel's firm knew. They'd probably whispered about me, pitted me, while I was picking out cake flavors and dress designs. Does Laura know if Jessica knows about me? She does, Emily said. Rachel told her you two were over. Months ago. Over. My voice cracked. We live together. We sleep in the same bed. She texted me an hour ago to check on me. I pulled out my phone, Rachel's message glowing. Relax. Love you. I wanted to throw it against the wall. I'm so sorry, Anna, Emily said, standing now, her hands hovering like she wanted to hug me but wasn't sure I'd let her. You don't deserve this. I turned, meeting her eyes. No one does. My voice was steady now, a resolve hardening inside me. Rachel thought she could play me, humiliate me, and walk away clean. She was wrong. I'm not letting her get away with this. What are you gonna do? Emily asked, her brow furrowing. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I'm not the naive fiancé she thinks I am. I picked up the folder, flipping through the Grandview's event details. Guest lists, schedules, menus. Rachel had planned every detail of her big night without me. Fine. I'd plan something too. Emily watched me, a small smile tugging at her lips. Whatever it is, I'm in. I nodded, the weight of her loyalty grounding me. The rain kept falling outside, steady and relentless. Like me. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew one thing. Rachel Miller was about to learn she'd underestimated the wrong woman. The Morning Brew Cafe smelled of roasted coffee and warm pastries, a familiar comfort that now felt like a betrayal. Rachel and I had spent countless Sundays here, planning our future over croissants and lattes. Today, I sat across from Nicole Evans, her fingers nervously shredding a sugar packet. The Seattle morning light filtered through the window, catching the tension in her eyes. She'd ordered me a vanilla latte usual. Of course, she knew. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the chair. My voice was calm, but my heart raced. I'd barely slept, my mind looping through Rachel's lies, Jessica's name, and that guest list without mine. Nicole pushed the latte toward me, her smile shaky. I figured you'd need it. She looked away, out the window, where pedestrians hurried through the drizzle. I skipped the small talk. How long have you known? My words hung between us, sharp and heavy. Her eyes snapped back to me, wide. Known what? The sugar packet tore, white grains spilling across the dark table. That Rachel's cheating. That our wedding's a sham. That she's proposing to Jessica. I leaned forward, my gaze locked on hers. Nicole's face cycled through emotion shock, confusion, then a flicker of anger. Proposing to Jessica? Her voice was low, almost a whisper. That's not what she told me. Then what? I pressed, my fingers tightening around the latte cup. It was still warm, but I didn't drink. She hesitated, twisting the torn packet. Rachel said she was having doubts. About marrying you. That she needed time. The Grandview party was for the merger, sure, but also a way to stall. To keep you planning a wedding she wasn't sure about. Her voice softened, like she was trying to cushion the blow. She said she didn't want to hurt you, Anna. Hurt me. My laugh was sharp, drawing a glance from the barista. I lowered my voice. She's been lying to my face, sleeping in our bed, while planning a life with someone else. Don't tell me she cares. Nicole flinched, her eyes dropping to the table. I swear, I didn't know about Jessica or any proposal. She looked up, her expression raw. I thought she was just confused. I studied her, searching for a lie. Either she was telling the truth, or she was a damn good actress. What about your text? I asked, my voice steady now. She'll never find out. What was that about? Nicole's breath caught. The party, she said quickly. Rachel didn't want you to know it wasn't a wedding. She asked me to help keep it quiet. Said it was temporary until she figured things out. Temporary. I leaned back, the chair creaking. She's been stringing me along for months. And you helped her. I told her it was wrong, Nicole said, her voice rising slightly. I told her to be honest with you. But yeah, I helped. And I'm sorry. Her eyes glistened, but I wasn't ready to feel sorry for her. Nicole had been in our lives for years. I'd invited her to our home, shared wine and laughs, trusted her. Now, her betrayal stung almost as much as Rachel's. Why? I asked. Why go along with it? She looked away, her jaw tight. Rachel and we were together. Years ago, before you. It didn't work out, but she swallowed. I still cared. I thought maybe her voice trailed off, pathetic and small. I laughed, bitter. You thought she'd pick you over Jessica? Over me. The irony was almost cruel. Rachel hadn't chosen any of us. Nicole didn't answer, just wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? She asked, her voice barely audible. I'm not sure, I said, though a plan was forming, sharp and clear. But I need to know everything. When did this start? The doubts, the lies, all of it. Nicole nodded, pulling out her phone. I have messages, emails, things Rachel didn't think I'd keep. She slid the phone toward me. Take a look. I took it, my hand steady now. Whatever was on that screen, it was the truth. And I was ready to face it. The apartment felt like a stage when I walked in, every corner rehearsed, every smile a performance. Rachel was on the couch, a glass of scotch in her hand, the amber liquid catching the dim Seattle light. She looked up, her face softening with relief. Hey, you're home, she said, setting the glass down. I was worried. I forced a smile, my stomach churning. Sorry, Emily had a crisis. The lie slipped out easily, practiced. I'd spent the day with Emily and Nicole, piecing together Rachel's betrayal from the messages on Nicole's phone. Texts, emails, plans to dump me after the Grandview party. But here, in our living room, I had to play the part of the trusting fiancé. Rachel stood, crossing the room to take my hand. Her touch, once warm and safe, now sent a chill through me. You okay? She asked, her thumb brushing my knuckles. Then her eyes narrowed. Where's your ring? My heart skipped. I'd sold the ring 2 days ago, traded it for a check and a shred of freedom. At the jeweler, I said, my voice steady. Getting polished. She nodded, seeming satisfied, and pulled me into a hug. I missed you last night, she murmured, her breath warm against my ear. Missed you too, I said, the words tasting like ash. She leaned in to kiss me, her lips soft, familiar. I let her, fighting the urge to push her away. Her kisses moved to my neck, her intent clear. I can't, I said, stepping back. I'm not feeling great. It wasn't a lie. My stomach had been in knots since I'd seen Nicole's messages. Rachel's brow furrowed, concern in her eyes. What's wrong, Anna? Just a stomach ache, I said, turning toward the bedroom. I'll be fine. Poor thing, she said, kissing my forehead. Get some rest. I've got to head back to the office anyway. Big presentation tomorrow. I nodded, watching her grab her coat and keys. The door clicked shut, and the apartment fell silent. I stood there, the weight of her lies pressing against my chest. Then I moved, fast. I showered, scrubbing my skin like I could wash away her touch. Packed a bag with essentials clothes, laptop, toothbrush. I wasn't staying here tonight. Not again. At Emily's place, she opened the door with a glass of wine in hand. You look like you need this more than me, she said, handing it over. I downed half in one gulp, the sharp tang grounding me. Rough day, I muttered, following her to the living room. Laura Hayes was there, surrounded by papers, guest lists, schedules, security details for the Grandview party. She looked up, her expression a mix of pity and resolve. Got everything you asked for, Laura said, sliding a folder toward me. I flipped through it, each page fueling my determination. Rachel's meticulous plans for her merger celebration. No mention of a wedding. No mention of me. Perfect, I said, setting the folder down. This is enough. Laura hesitated, her fingers twisting together. You sure about this, Anna? You could confront her privately. Let her explain. I shook my head. She's had months to explain. She chose lies. My voice caught, but I pushed through. She's living a double life, Laura. Sleeping with Jessica, planning a proposal, while I'm picking out flowers for a wedding that doesn't exist. Do you know what that feels like? Realizing it was all a lie. Laura looked away, silent. Emily squeezed my shoulder. We're with you, she said. Whatever you need. I nodded, my resolve hardening. The plan was simple. I'd show up at the Grandview party, uninvited. Wait for Rachel's big moment, her proposal to Jessica. Then I'd make my own announcement. Expose her in front of everyone she cared about. Emily poured more wine. When's Nicole coming? She asked. Tomorrow, I said. She's bringing more evidence. Messages, emails. Everything. Laura frowned. Can you trust her? I don't know, I admitted. But I trust what she's shown me. I took a sip of wine, the glass cool against my lips. 3 days until the party. 3 days to make sure Rachel Miller never forgot the woman she'd underestimated. The Grandview Hotel's ballroom sparkled under crystal chandeliers, the air buzzing with clinking glasses and polished laughter. Seattle's elite mingled in tuxedos and cocktail dresses, celebrating the Peterson merger. I stood near the service entrance, my borrowed server's uniform itching against my skin. From here, I could see everything. Rachel, radiant in a tailored suit, stood at the center of it all. Beside her, Jessica Lee glowed in a red dress that screamed money. My hands trembled as I adjusted my collar. You sure about this? Emily whispered, her own server's uniform slightly too big. She tugged at her sleeve, eyes scanning the crowd. We'd slipped in with the catering staff, thanks to Laura's connection with the event coordinator. I've never been sure, I said, though my voice wavered. The last 3 days had been a blur, planning, pretending, keeping Rachel in the dark. She'd been too busy with the merger to notice my late nights, or the missing ring I'd claimed was still at the jeweler. But tonight, her world would unravel. I spotted Nicole across the room, near the bar. Her black dress hugged her frame, her face tight with nerves, but resolute. She caught my eye and gave a subtle nod. The evidence was read messages, emails, proof of Rachel's lies, tucked in a small drive in her purse. Everything was set. I checked my watch. 9:30 p.m., 15 minutes until Rachel's speech, her special announcement. My heart pounded, loud enough to drown out the jazz band in the corner. Emily squeezed my arm. We can still leave, she said softly. Talk to her tomorrow, privately. For a moment, I wavered. Was I really about to do this? Expose Rachel in front of her colleagues, her friends? Humiliate myself in the process? Everyone would know I'd been played. Then I saw Rachel laugh, her hand resting on Jessica's lower back. The same possessive gesture she'd used on me, rehearsed and hollow. My resolve hardened. No, I said, my voice firm. She doesn't get to walk away clean. At 9:40, Sarah tapped her glass with a spoon, the chime cutting through the chatter. The crowd quieted, turning toward the small stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah said, her smile wide, please join me in welcoming Rachel Miller, the star of tonight's merger. Applause rippled through the room as Rachel stepped up, confident, her suit catching the spotlight. I moved closer, weaving through the crowd, Emily at my heels. Nicole started from the opposite side, her steps deliberate. Rachel's voice was smooth, practiced. Thank you all for being here tonight. This merger isn't just a business win. It's personal. My pulse raced. This was it. Rachel continued, the past year has brought big changes for me. And tonight, I want to share something special. She turned, her smile softening. Jessica, could you join me? Jessica looked surprised but pleased, gliding onto the stage. The crowd murmured, some exchanging knowing glances. Rachel took her hand. Jessica joined our firm 8 months ago, she said. In that time, she's become indispensable, professionally and personally. A ripple of laughter spread, light and conspiratorial. They knew. They all knew. I stepped closer, the server's uniform letting me blend in. 20 feet from the stage. 15. Rachel reached into her pocket, pulling out a velvet box. The crowd gasped. Jessica's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide. 10 feet. Jessica, Rachel said, dropping to one knee. Will you marry me? I stopped, 5 feet from the stage, my heart a drum in my chest. The room seemed to hold its breath. I stepped into the spotlight, my voice cutting through the silence. Interesting offer, Rachel, I said, loud and clear. Especially since you're already engaged. Every head turned. Rachel froze, still kneeling, the ring box open in her hand. Her face drained of color as she saw me. The ballroom, glittering and grand, felt like a stage. And I was ready to play my part. The Grandview Hotel's ballroom went silent, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. Every eye was on me, standing in the spotlight, my server's uniform stark against the glittering crowd. Rachel knelt on the stage, the velvet ring box still open in her hand, her face pale as she stared at me. Jessica stood beside her, confusion etching lines across her face. The air felt thick, electric, like the moment before a storm breaks. Anna, Rachel said, her voice catching. She stood slowly, closing the box with a snap. What are you doing here? I'm here to celebrate, I said, my voice steady, louder than I felt. The merger. Your engagement. And your talent for living a double life. I stepped closer, the stage lights hot on my skin. Jessica's eyes darted between us, her hands clenching. Anna's your ex-fiancé? Her voice was sharp, like she was piecing it together. I raised an eyebrow, turning to her. Ex? That's news to me. As of this morning, we were still engaged. Living together. Planning our wedding. I faced the crowd, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity. Or at least, I was planning a wedding. Rachel had other plans. Whispers rippled through the room, soft but growing. Rachel's jaw tightened, her eyes flashing. Anna, this isn't the place, she said, her tone low, warning. No. I stepped onto the stage, my heart pounding but my voice calm. Funny. You're fine announcing your new engagement here, on what was supposed to be our wedding day. Gasps echoed, louder now. Jessica stepped back, her face flushing with humiliation. You told me you broke up months ago, Jessica said to Rachel, her voice trembling with anger. Rachel's face reddened. Enough, Anna. You're making a scene. A scene? I laughed, the sound sharp, cutting through the tension. You haven't seen anything yet. I nodded to Nicole, who stepped forward from the crowd, her black dress stark against the ballroom's glow. She held her phone, her expression resolute. Rachel's played us all, Nicole said, her voice clear, echoing off the chandeliers. She was with me 6 months ago, before she proposed to Anna. Then she moved on to Jessica, all while letting Anna plan a wedding that was never real. Sarah, standing near the stage, looked stunned. Rachel, what the hell is going on? She demanded, her voice shaking. Rachel's composure cracked, her hands balling into fists. This is ridiculous. You're all overreacting. I was going to end things with Anna after tonight. I didn't want drama before the merger. Drama? I repeated, my voice icy. 3 years of our relationship was just drama to you? Something to manage. I turned to the crowd, meeting their eyes, colleagues, friends, strangers. I wasn't just exposing Rachel. I was reclaiming my story. I'm not here to be the clueless fiancé. I know everything. And I'm done letting her control the narrative. The room was silent now, every face fixed on me. Jessica's eyes glistened, her hands trembling as she glared at Rachel. You lied to me, she said, her voice breaking. She yanked the ring box from Rachel's hand and threw it to the floor, the clatter loud in the stillness. Half the crowd gasped. I took a breath, my chest tight but my head clear. Congratulations on your merger, Rachel, I said, my voice steady. And good luck with your next engagement. I'm sure it'll be as honest as ours. I turned, walking off the stage, my steps deliberate, head high. Behind me, voices erupted: Jessica's furious accusations, Rachel's desperate explanations, murmurs from the crowd. I didn't look back. Emily fell into step beside me, her hand brushing mine. You did it, she whispered. The ballroom doors loomed ahead, promising escape. The cool Seattle night waited beyond, ready to swallow the chaos I'd left behind. I pushed through, leaving Rachel to face the wreckage of her lies. For the first time in days, I felt lighter. Not whole, not yet, but free. The cool Seattle night hit my face as I pushed through the Grandview Hotel's revolving doors. The ballroom's suffocating tension faded, replaced by the crisp air and the soft splash of the fountain in the plaza. Water danced under golden lights, sparkling like the diamond I'd sold days ago. I sat on the fountain's edge, my heart still racing, adrenaline pulsing through me. I'd done it. Exposed Rachel's lies in front of everyone. So why didn't I feel better? Anna? Emily's voice broke through my thoughts. She hurried toward me, still in her server's uniform, worry etched across her face. She sat beside me, her shoulder brushing mine. You okay? I stared at the water, its ripples catching the light. I don't know, I admitted, my voice soft. I thought I'd feel victorious. Like I won, but I just feel empty. You were incredible up there, she said, her tone fierce. You should have seen Rachel's face after you left. Jessica threw the ring at her and stormed out. Half the room followed. The other half just stared, like Rachel had sprouted horns. I should have smiled, felt some spark of satisfaction. Instead, a strange ache settled in my chest. Not for Rachel, ever for her, but for the life I'd believed in. The future I'd built in my head, now gone. Nothing but smoke. What now? I asked, more to myself than Emily. Before she could answer, the hotel doors swung open. Nicole stepped out, followed by Laura and Sarah. They spotted us and crossed the plaza, their steps hesitant. Sarah loosened her tie, her face flushed. That was intense, she said, awkward but kind. I had no idea, Anna. None of us did. I'm sorry. Nicole sat beside me, her black dress blending with the night. Rachel's still in there, she said quietly, trying to salvage her reputation. It's not working. Good, Emily said, her voice sharp. I looked at them: Emily, Nicole, Laura, Sarah. People who'd seen me at my worst and still stood here. Will this change anything? I asked, humiliating her. Will it fix what she did? Probably not, Laura said softly. But it stopped her from hurting Jessica the way she hurt you. It showed she can't treat people like props in her story. She was right. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about breaking a cycle, refusing to be erased. The doors opened again, and Rachel stepped out, her tie crooked, face flushed. She saw us and hesitated, then walked forward, stopping a few feet away. Here to finish what you started, she asked, her voice bitter. You finished it yourself, I said, calm and steady. Long before tonight. She flinched. You had no right to ambush me like that. To ruin everything I worked for. Like you planned to ruin me? I stood, facing her. You and Jessica, plotting to dump me after the party, while I was picking out flowers for a wedding you never intended. It wasn't like that, she said, but her voice wavered. It was exactly like that. I stepped closer. Your mistake wasn't cheating or lying. It was thinking I was too naive, too trusting, to see through you. I loved you, she said, quieter now. At first. I just stopped. Then you should have told me, I said. Been honest. Not let me beg for a future you didn't want. The words caught me off guard, raw and true. Should I have fought for her? Pleaded? I'd never know. She hadn't given me the chance. Rachel looked at my friends, their faces hard. So what now? She asked. You got your revenge. Ruined my night. Are you happy? No, I said, reaching into my pocket. I pulled out the apartment key, cold against my palm, and handed it to her. I'll grab my things tomorrow. After that, we're done. She took the key, her shoulders slumping. I'm sorry, she said, and I believed her. But it changed nothing. She turned and walked away, smaller than the woman I'd loved. Let's go, Emily said, linking her arm with mine. As we walked toward the street, Nicole kept pace. What's next? She asked. Pancakes, I said suddenly, surprising myself. That 24-hour diner on 7th. Emily laughed. Pancakes it is. The night stretched ahead, full of possibilities I hadn't dared imagine while trapped in Rachel's lies. You'll be okay, Laura said, reading my thoughts. I looked up at the Seattle sky, stars faint through the city glow. I know, I said. I'm already okay. Standing there, with the people who'd stayed by me, I felt it. The pain was still there, sharp and fresh. But beneath it was something stronger. I'd faced the truth and survived. I wasn't a footnote in Rachel's story. I was my own.